Welcome to 10 Minute Teach with Mr. A.
In this video, we're going to be multiplying numbers by 1,000. Okay, let's get straight into it. First off for us, I've written out some place value grids before we start on our examples. Now, our first one is 5 times 1,000. So I'm going to write my 5 into my place value grid. There we go. And 5 is the same as 5 and no tenths, so 5.0. And what we're trying to do is make this 1,000 times bigger. And I always recommend putting your decimal place in there, so your 0.0, just because it makes it much easier to move that number around in your place value grid, and it'll make much more sense when we do our examples a little bit later on. So let's have a look. So we'll pop our decimal place in line, really important that they're all lined up, and we're trying to make it 1,000 times bigger. So one little tip is just to look at the number of zeros in the 1,000, which is 3, and that's how many places that we move it. So let's give that a go. So our 5 will move 1, 2, 3 places over to the left, because the number's getting larger, and if we went to the right, the number would be getting smaller, so you'd end up dividing it there. Now what we can do is, because our 5's moved over into the 1,000 column, put our placeholders in there as well for 5,000. So 5, 1,000 times bigger, is 5,000. Or, if you want to, 5,000.0, because it is the same number. So let's move on to our next example. So we've got 6.3, and we're going to do the same thing. We've got our number of zeros there, which is 3. That tells us the number of places in our place value grid that we're going to move it over. So our 6, 1, 2, 3, becomes 6,000, and our 0.3, 2, 3 becomes 300. Then I can put my placeholders in. There we are. So 6,300. So my next example then has got some tens and a tenth. So let's give this one a go. So 23.7 multiplied by 1,000. So let's put that decimal place in before we start. So our tens number, 1, 2, 3 times bigger, will move over into our 10,000s column. Our 3 will move over into our thousands column, 3 jumps, and then we can put our tenths into our hundreds column there, and then we've got placeholders that we can add. So once we've finished that one, we've got 23,700. So getting slightly larger with these numbers now. So then we've got 6.68, and you'll notice in this number we've got an extra column, which is our hundredths column. Now, just because you've got more decimal places, it doesn't mean that you do anything different at all. So we'll still be moving our number over those 3 places, because the zeros in our 1,000 tell us to do that, making it 1,000 times larger. Pop our decimal place in where we're going to put our answer. So 1, 2, 3 places over with the 6, which makes 6,000. 1, 2, 3 places over with our tenth, which makes it hundreds. And then 3 places over with our hundredth, puts it in the tens column. And I can just put some placeholders in there. So 6,680 or 6,680.0. So this time I have a tens number and some hundredths. So let's write that in there, 53.04, and we'll pop our decimal place in just underneath. So we're making 53.04 1,000 times larger. So once again, we'll start with our tens digit in this column, and we'll be moving it over 3. So that then goes into the 10,000s column. My 3 moves over into the thousands column to make 3,000. My 0, now even though I've got a 0, that still needs to come over, because we don't want to change the order of any of these numbers at all. And our 4 in our hundredths column comes over into our tens, and we can pop our placeholder in there. So 53,040. Our final example has some thousands, so we're going to write this number in, 32.397. And we're going to do just the same as we've done before. So we're going to be moving this 3 places over to the left. In our tens column this time, we're going to move over 3 to our 10,000s column. Our 2s, 1, 2, 3 jumps, moves over to our thousands column to make it 1,000 times larger. Our 10th comes over into our hundreds column. Our 100 comes over into our tens column, and our 1,000th comes over into our ones column to make it 1,000 times larger. Pop my decimal place in there, and there we go. So 32,397. If this video has helped you today, then please consider checking out my other videos, maybe leave a comment for any that you'd like me to do in future, and also maybe a little subscribe as well. Until next time guys, goodbye.